So today we'll be talking about rebuilding our infrastructure between Africa and Europe, because this is our focus of our area of focus. So as most of you know here, most of our business is done in Africa, and the business that we have, or the company that we have here in Europe, is just to serve connectivity to the companies that are in Africa. And across all that, we found many issues, and every day is a struggle, and every day is a way we're trying to figure out a solution. We used to think that all our solutions are technical, but more and more we figure out that it's not enough. We need to tackle other problems. As you all know, internet has changed. Like we used to use internet just to send emails, and that was it. And at a certain point, we started hosting, browsing the internet, and that's what it is. But today, internet is everything. When we say everything, is about everything. When you want to order a car, it's internet. When you want to take an appointment with a doctor, is internet. When you want to ask AI, is internet. So you cannot do anything today without internet. So it became the base of our society. Like the humanity today is closer to each other because of internet. And today, unfortunately, internet is not only used to communicate, but is used as well as a political power. And that's why they talk about sovereignty, and there is competitiveness, and that's why there is dependency on some countries. And internet is not better in Africa because of that, because internet in Africa depends on transit outside. We almost don't have local content. Most of the traffic always go outside. So to tackle this kind of solution, we interconnect countries, but it's not enough. To tackle this kind of solution, we install IXP, but again, it's not enough, because if you don't install enough CDNs, if an IXP doesn't have CDNs, there is not enough traffic that is local, and all the traffic will always go international. This is, for example, some speed tests that we did in Kinshasa. So I don't know if the numbers are visible. Just to read it, quite simple. So from Kinshasa to Meo, to Portugal, is 97 milliseconds, and we have like 200 megabits. So bandwidth is not really the problem. And from Kinshasa to Vodafone, we were able to get more download, but less upload. From Kinshasa to Paris, we were able to get 126 milliseconds. Kinshasa to Kinshasa was 1 millisecond. Kinshasa to from United to Orange DRC, it was 2 milliseconds because of internet exchange. But from Orange, or even from Orange to another Orange company, for example, and of course we did a lot of tests with all other operators, the traffic was 194 milliseconds and 256 milliseconds, meaning that the traffic was going to Europe and back to Africa. And that's the problem that we have today. And this is coming from the same company. And the example is the same. With every company, we have the same. So wherever we're creating, for example, a POP, we are interconnecting, and we're trying to push the traffic as much as possible locally. So every time we talk that we have a problem with connectivity, they bring us more cables. And every time we say, oh, internet is not working, they install a new cable. They say, come on, guys, we have a lot of capacity. The problem is not cable. We have capacity. Today, you can have 100 gigabit on old cables, and you can have 100 gigabit on new cables, almost same price. Okay, the price is a bit better. Sometimes conditions are a bit better. We win 2-3 milliseconds, and that's it. It's not enough. So there is investments, massive. Every few now and then, we heard there is a new cable. It's good, because we have more capacity. But the problem is that all of them, same path. When it goes down, all of them go down. Last 2 years, 4 cables went down at the same time on one side and 3 on the other side. So we were in a shock point. So the problem is architecture. Architecture is the limiting factor. When we talk about architecture, it's not how we take internet, it's how we interconnect. So in our case, for example, we have only 3 or 4 POPs on Western Africa, and they are interconnected. So someone that is in Kinshasa wants to get traffic that is Ivory Coast, it's local, it goes 20 milliseconds. Someone who wants to go to another city that is interconnected, it's 20 milliseconds. But if it's not interconnected, it does like everyone else. It goes to the internet and then come back on the other side. And that actually was the reason that, for example, Dikix that is in the room started the IXP business. The 3 ISP that were in Germany used to interconnect in New York. So they created a local IXP just to interconnect the traffic locally. And the solution is to do the same. More IXP all over and interconnect the bandwidth and then have one shared infrastructure. So today, everything is centralized, like all the routing, like sometimes in some countries, in the same country, 2 operators doesn't talk, so they meet on the internet. There is a lot of limited regional IXP. Some of them work very good. Some of them are very limited. Some of them are political. So they don't like you, you don't go in. And a lot of static path selection. This is a bit technical. It's like to make things simpler, they just make it work. They don't make it work the best. They just make it work. It's for them, it's enough. It's working. You have internet, that's it. For us, it's not enough. And when there is a submarine cut, we see it a lot. Okay, so that's a bit the difference of what we do. We build infrastructure. This is what exactly exists today. It's everyone builds infrastructure, not adaptive system. And this is exactly what we're trying to do. We build systems that are adaptive and not just infrastructure. Actually, we use mostly the infrastructure of others. So what we've been doing, and when we started our company, we used to say that Interfiber is a IP transit company. What do we do? We sell IP transit. Today, if you ask us what do, we don't know. We do everything. We used to sell internet. Now we don't. We give a whole package solution. It's like we don't just sell you the car. We give you the fuel. We tell you how it drives. We do the maintenance, and we always tell you how you need to drive it optimally. So the old model was we sell only internet. We sell just the easiest way. We sell like static routing. Okay, of course it's dynamic. BGP is dynamic, but for example, we had a client, let's say in Ivory Coast. We give them a connection. That's it. It's a static routing. Now, no. When we install a client, and if in that client, for example, have an internet exchange in his city, we will actually give him internet. We'll connect him to the internet exchange. We'll try to configure him as much as optimal possible. Because if they don't use everything on transit, his quality is better. And then we're able to actually do better and for others as well. And old model were always reactive operation, meaning that we only wait until the network is saturated to upgrade it. Today, we do it completely different. We optimize performance every day. It works. How can we make it better? Okay, just like Japanese, Kaizen, always continuous improvement. A lot of time, people are afraid when I travel, for example, to Kinshasa, and there is some modification in the internet. People are like, stop touching it. It was working. It's like, no, we want to make it better. And we're one of the pioneers to test dynamic routing that even on cutting edge. Some of the technology that maybe we'll present now are cutting edge. A lot of people are afraid to use. A lot of people say it's not secure. Then everything is not secure. A knife cuts meat, but as well, it's not secure. So it doesn't mean that we need to stop using knives to cut meat. As well, predictive intelligence, meaning that we always predict. It's very simple. Data shows that we always will use more bandwidth. Internet is not going slower, it's going faster. So the content is becoming faster. Everyone wants it to be faster. AI, you need the reply right away. No one knows all the thing in the back. That's why even satellite is faster. Everyone wants something faster. It's not enough. So by predictive intelligence, what we do is that we always try to see where we can have a problem. We have a set of series. If this will happen, it means that this will have a consequence and we'll have a problem. We will have maybe bottleneck. It will be not enough bandwidth. So we always build our network a bit bigger. So how we rebuild the fabric is that we decentralize traffic. So as much as possible, we push traffic to IXP. The case here, as much as possible, we install CDN, sometimes CDN directly on ISP levels. If, for example, the CDN doesn't exist, we pushed a lot. We, for example, liked a lot initiative from Microsoft called the MCC, Microsoft Connected Cache. which is a virtual machine that serves Microsoft locally. So we love it. We installed everywhere. And we wish every CDN does it. So like this, we have no problem with shipping equipment. And we work everything based on latency, capacity, loss, jitter. Our network in Kinshasa, for example, is better than the network that was in Ivory Coast. And I went to Ivory Coast for marriage, and I said, wow, the country is more developed. It's halfway through, but the internet is not better. We can do better. So we actually opened up a pub there, and we started selling internet, and we're growing. That's how it is. We go by sentiment because we're relatively small. But believe me, if we had several billion, I would install ISPs everywhere. So as well, we split the traffic. So all the traffic that is Africa is kept in Africa. Everything that is Africa, Europe is, of course, sent to Europe. And everything that is Africa to cloud is, we push these operators to install CDN as much as possible. Sometimes we beg them on emails, like we need, for example, a Google cache. Please send us one. We need Akamai, we need all these caches. So we try to push as much as possible. And today in Kinshasa, 45% of our internet is local, 45, almost half. So the idea is to push for way more. Today, our traffic in Portugal is around 70, sometimes it peaks to 80% local. But of course, the other 20 goes to outside. What we're trying to achieve is around 80% in every country in Africa, meaning that if that happens, automatically only 20% will be affected if there is a submarine cable. So the shift is we want to move beyond BGP. Of course, we will always use BGP because BGP is the fabric of, is the protocol that holds the internet together, but it's not enough. It was built in the 90s, almost after when I was born. So we push a lot for segment routing, version 6. Of course, we as well still use MPLS SRs, so MPLS segment routing, but MPLS was always this labeling mechanism, stitching mechanism. So it's like they created it to fix two more problems. So that's why when they created the IPv6, they put it inside the header of the IP. So they simplified it. It's still complex, but the way we talked about it, that we wanted to do things in a preventive way. So we know that everything is going IPv6. Why not to start using protocols that are IPv6 that supports IPv4 and IPv6? So like this, the day we want to shut down IPv4, it's already there. So that's part of how we are doing it. The other thing is that we use AI heavily. When we say heavily, is that like the same way you have machine learning, we have something called route learning. We always continuously see how the routes are done, always. So if, for example, we see that the connection going from transit 1 is faster, we will keep it on transit 1. If it's faster on transit 3, it will go there. And that's why our average AF path is better than all our providers. Why? Because our average is in a positive way. Okay. So the network is adaptive. Why it matters? Because I need to review it. Okay. So that's the part I don't like usually when it talks about money. So that's why I was not aware. Anyway, so everything we use today, everything on economy it uses the technology we built. I always say it among my friends, and everyone knows that I'm a CEO by mistake. Like I'm an engineer, literally. They try to push me not to install routers, and I always want to do that. The thing is that I'm trying to groom other people to replace me so that I can go back to concentrate on the things I like and do the AI infrastructure, not to tell you why strategically it matters. No, I want to build that infrastructure. Okay. So of course, we want data sovereignty. We don't want our data outside. So when we're hosting emails, we don't know where our emails are. So we try to push for local solutions when we're using anything that is not made where we are. Of course, we expose our data. And today, everyone knows that more than anything else, more than energy, data is what matters the most. So I think that by reshaping the fabric of internet itself, it's a whole new thing. It's a they say trillion. It's because today that's the maximum number we have. But I think that the economy itself today is worth several trillion, but in a few years it will be worth much more. Okay, so that's what we want to do. We just want to build the fabric, not just use it. Today, we use it, we build part of it, but we know that we can do much better. And to do that, we cannot do it alone. To do it, we need more carrier-neutral data centers and IP transit providers. That's something that we have as a problem every day. Every time we want to, because in some countries in Africa, we have our own ISPs. And in the same time, we sell our capacity to our own ISPs. So everyone says that, okay, but you're selling to your company. I said, yes, but I can sell with the same conditions, same price, same quality. But then they will say that, what's the catch? No, there is no catch. The idea is that internet only works when everyone is connected. If internet was not interconnected, it wouldn't exist the same form we have it today. Okay, so today as well, as Interfiber, we're in several countries, but it's not enough. And the idea is we want to push more and more. And what we're exposing today is more the problem that we are facing every day. And we came up with kind of a, I would say, a solution, which will be in the next presentation. So this is the entry. And yeah, so today, this is the key region where we are. And if you see, we have like a big points only in Kinshasa and Abidjan and Lisbon and London. And this is where we are. Of course, we have POPs all over, but mainly they are done to serve Abidjan and Kinshasa. More Kinshasa because a very big city. But the idea is that we do it because unfortunately, our family member is only four brothers and sisters, and we work together, and we can only go to 4 cities. After that, it becomes complicated. But if we do it with others, we can, of course, join you to the family. So the difference is that we're vendor agnostic. It means that we can drive a Mercedes, but we know how to drive a BMW, a Toyota. Everything drives the same. It takes you from point A to point B. Our network will never use only one brand. So we don't like vendor lock-in because we think every brand is amazing, but we don't think that every brand can do everything. So some brands are way better in some stuff and some other brands. So the idea is just to put a combination of the best. And as well, of course, we do all this distributed IX, BNI. We have this intelligent, which actually we will open source it and share it to the world. So maybe the world can become a better place. And because of that, we have better latency, lower cost, we have scalable, and it's multipath. Okay, so the performance is the product. And even though it's, I would say, our product, we are ready to make it open source because without open source as well, internet wouldn't exist, or computers or everything that we are using today wouldn't exist the same way it is. Okay, so defining moment will be in the next slide. Not next slide, but next presentation. So if we don't act and work together, it will be always depend on other operators, which is our case. And that's why we always use several operators, because if one fail, we will pass on the others. The same way they say, don't put all your eggs in the same baskets. It's technically, we do it, but in a technical way. So if we do it right, and if we finish the plan that we started with, of course, the help of others, we can actually make Africa a digital hub. And when I say digital hub, not for content and everything, but we can actually use the whole continent actually as a backup. For example, most of the choke points we have on the Red Sea will cease to be a limitation. We will be able, for example, to cut the latency. And we can use it as a corridor. We have this internet exchange that we built with DECIX in DRC, and DRC have 9 neighboring countries. And the idea is to transit all the traffic. And when we built it, they said, which switch should we go for? And we said, what is the biggest one? And it was like, okay, the 2 terabit, let's go for it. So it's overkill, because today, if I tell you how much is the traffic on it, you will say, but that's too much. But yeah, it's too much for today. It's never too much for tomorrow. That's why, and I always say it even to my competitors in Africa, is that as long as everyone is not yet connected, and that's the case in DRC, everyone is a collaborator. It's the same if we take it from Earth perspective. There is 8 billion human. Not all of them are connected. So even if all the company combined work together, we're not going to connect them all. And the idea is that if we work together and try to connect them all, of course, automatically we become collaborators, and of course, we will be able to do better. Thank you very much. And this is actually a new slogan.
Next presentation, Mio. And we have, of course, Jorge Andrade. So he's the head of the wholesale division. So come over here. It's all yours.
Thank you. It's a bit daunting to speak of Africa after Mohammed, and namely with all the knowledge that he brings to the table. So let's see how it goes. But in the end, it all started with Mohammed, to be honest. So first of all, just wanted to say that I look up to you and what you're doing, and what you're doing in DRC and in Abidjan. It's amazing, and I think I've already told you that. And we met probably more than a year ago, something like this, and we started to have discussions about the connectivity between Europe and Africa and how it would develop. And in the end, it was something like what Mohammed just presented. So this, for me, brought the question, what is going to happen with the traffic between Africa and Europe? And with all the new investment in data centers in Africa, what is going to happen? Are we going to see the traffic going down, or the current investment will continue to go forward? So this was my main question. Let's see what were my conclusions. So then I'm open to discuss that with you as well. Okay, no, too fast.
That was me.
So let's go. Yeah, I think on one side, Africa is no longer a future market. It's becoming more and more a place where active investment is happening. And from a McKinsey study that was taken late last year, McKinsey is expecting that the growth in data centers will go as high as 5.5 times what the current available power is today. So what are the two scenarios that they have seen? On one side, they are expecting a large enterprise cloud adoption. But on top, and this is what you see as the main difference between 3.5 and 5.5 times growth. On the other hand, there is AI adoption largely at the continental level, but also public entities and governments having also cloud adoption, and let's think of cloud sovereignty and what that will bring into infrastructure. So we know what are the difficulties, and that's why we see the countries like Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, Morocco, and Egypt being able to grow. And that's where the investment is going to initially. I'm not saying that it's not going to other sites, but this is where we can find available power, land, and connectivity. So how it will unfold, let's say. I think that one thing we need to remember is that data centers don't appear randomly. They look for where power and connectivity are available. And so that's why we are seeing, as of now, companies like Digital Realty or Equinix or Vantage or Araxio looking for these places and developing in Africa. So, in fact, what is going to happen? So let's go back a little bit. And let's go back into a bit of history. We have started with mainframes, with a period where only the largest companies would have enough available power, enough money to have their own data centers. So it was more on a centralized way. Then we go and we see that computing is picking up and networking as well. So now companies have more demand for IT infrastructure, and we go more into a localized, let's say, development in terms of data center. But then comes the internet. And with it comes the first open and neutral places, the first places where IXPs could bring together a lot of networks. And we enter this internet scale, and we start to grow largely on top of this. More data centers, more connectivity. And now we are, and more recently, we are in the midst of the growth on the hyperscale era. And when I say hyperscale, well, if I would be here 3 to 4 years ago, probably I would be speaking of 100 megawatt to 100 megawatt scale. Now we are talking about 1.2 gigawatts, namely what is being developed in Sines, and all around the world we are looking into gigawatt projects. So it's kind of a different era. So what can we expect? A digital hub is made of, on my point of view, two main things. One, infrastructure, so data centers, and these data centers, they create gravity. So platforms want to be present where there is space and where there is connectivity. And connectivity responds to it with carriers, with new routes, with redundancy and diversity. And what happens? This brings demand from more platforms, from more clouds to be in the same space, which in turn creates the cycle and brings more connectivity. So this is what we are seeing in digital hubs. And if we think of, for example, London and how it grew, Amsterdam and Frankfurt, this in Europe, but also what we have seen on the other side of the Atlantic in Singapore, well, so many hubs that were developed just this way, and that are creating and continue to create this gravity. But I wanted to compare something that, on my point of view, is going to happen in Africa with other cases. What have we seen on the single busiest route in the world? We have probably the most important hubs globally, but nevertheless, we have been able to see the traffic grow. So yeah, there was a traffic shift. So DC powerhouses on both sides of the Atlantic, the traffic being heavily localized, but in the end, what we have seen is that more clouds are being developed on both sides of the Atlantic, more redundancy, more resilience, more interconnection, need DC to DC connectivity, but also more enterprises being present everywhere with footprints that are not just regional, they are intercontinental. And this means more traffic behind all of this. So again, another example is the Middle East. So we can think of the Middle East right now more or less as what happened with Dubai airport. So the Middle East is not the destination anymore. is also a transit hub. And this is happening as well for the whole connectivity. So we have started with something that was a strategic geography now being a digital strategy. And now data centers arrive in the form of small co-location places. They are now aggregating into, let's say, edge and cloud on ramps, but the step has been taken, and you have seen this on the news. And now AI is also the next step. So it's becoming something that is a centralized path between East and West. So once again, this ability to build data centers, did it stop the traffic from flowing east to west? The localization of traffic meant that there was no traffic now running from, or much lower traffic running from Middle East to Europe or from Middle East to Asia? Well, it's exactly the opposite. So that takes me back to Africa. And so just to recall some of the demand drivers: young population, digital native on one hand. Smartphones are picking up, and some studies say that probably by 2030, 70% of the population in Africa will have smartphones. Also, more financial institutions are deploying into Africa, taking into account all of the development that the continent is seeing. And then AI and cloud will do the rest, for sure, helping enterprises to get a stronger fabric and being more able to grow. So in the end, all of this doesn't stop at national borders. And so, on my point of view, we can expect a large part of the traffic being held locally, just as Mohammed explained a few minutes ago. So it's not going to trombone anymore to Europe or even to the Middle East now with the new connections. But there will continue to be a need for different traffic. The traffic will get reshaped. It will get more volume, namely from connectivity to DC, namely for resilience of networks. And we see that with the newly announced investments on, for example, Medusa and Africa One, just following the recent investments in entering operations on Equiano to Africa, etc. So, of course, MEO continues to be Europe's front door. It is here to help to see the connectivity going from south to north, let's say, Africa to Europe, to be on that crossroad, and from Mediterranean to the Atlantic, of course, using infrastructure and connectivity. So just a takeaway, on my point of view, we will continue to see traffic grow between Africa and Europe, although a different type of traffic that we see today. So thank you all.
Thank you. Before we move into this, we heard already George and of course Mohammed, but I will give everybody a quick minute to introduce themselves, say something about the company, and let's maybe we hear something new. So you can grab the mic, Teresa. It's over to you. Is it working? Are they all working?
Hello.
Okay, so please take it away. Who are you?
As usual, I'm the only woman amongst the many beautiful boys here.
Say again. It wasn't me.
My name is Teresa Bovis. I'm representing Andikix. I'm part of the sales and business development team looking after Southern Europe. And most of you probably I know already. And I'm really pushing for Lisbon to be the new ecosystem in Europe.
Well, thank you so much. We love to hear that, right? Manuel?
Should I?
Yes.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Be nice now.
I believe, yes, always
Okay.
nice. I believe that this is the third or fourth year that I'm here, always learning. And today I already learned wonderful that sentence that said that internet is not only about cables. So I'm going to remember that. So I'm from Anacom. I'm here only to make sure that everything goes according to what this is supposed to, according to rules. So I'll be regulating everyone during the next hour. Careful. But especially, I'm from the board. Sandra already presented and shared with everyone what Anacom does and what is our perspective and strategy on submarine cables. But it's always a pleasure to be here.
Okay, thank you. And actually, we want to turn it around. We want to know what you can do for us, right? Right? Yeah. So, okay. So a quick word, George.
Yeah, I think I've already presented myself. Once again, I don't know what happened, but I'm on the other side of the stage as Manuel. It happened again. We need to be on the same side of the stage. We already discussed this.
But at least it's the same stage.
It is the same.
So that's
stage.
already a good, right?
We are in the same stage.
No, kidding. But yeah, I'm having the international wholesale business at MEO, and that's what we want to do. So we are on the crossroads, and we want to help everyone that needs to localize traffic in Portugal or content, but also to transit and to be connected to the rest of the world.
Okay, thank you. And over to the last but not least, but the guy I'm most jealous of, but because look how he's dressed. I love to be dressed like him as well, you know, than in this suit. So Mohammed, over to you.
So I'm Mohammed Ibrahim. I will never put a suit.
I love this guy.
Network engineer at heart. So you need to always be efficient. So yeah, no suit. And but
he's
yeah,
rubbing it in, you know, he's really, you know.
We used to be an IP transit provider, and we are, I would say, a solution provider. Okay, a connectivity solution provider. That's
cool. Okay, thank you. So welcome all of you, and happy to have these highly submarine experts here around the table, and of course having you here sitting and listening to us. So thank you so much for taking your time, and hopefully whatever we have to share with you, you can pick up maybe one thing. You know, you learn maybe one thing. So thank you for being here and taking your time. We're going to move on because we're already running late, and there's always one thing which people always are pissed off about, and that's Eric. Lunch already started, you know, so I'll be on time. Okay, I'll make sure that we are more than on time. So let's move into it. Enhancing the digital connectivity and the strategies for pairing cable investments to address actually the current and future regional demands. I never know who comes up with these kind of phrases. It's probably me. Anyway, Teresa, having you here. I mean, it is inevitable that, you know, the guys can bring the fiber, the guys can bring everything there, but an IX makes everything possible, right? You're a very important piece of the puzzle. Now, can you quickly elaborate a little bit on the DKIX importance and the IX importance of especially the current growth we are seeing and the demand which is coming at us? Meaning, actually, how much you want to gonna invest again? That's the question.
Well, DKIX has been in the business for the last 30 years, right? And we've always been the catalyst in all of those cables that lands on the sea to go terrestrial and make that those cables are being consumed, wherein there is a termination of traffic between one another to improve, as what Mohammed had said. It's not just cables, but make it optimally use so that every internet users will have a good quality experience. And this is all going to be part of the architecture in order to actually then support the increasing demand of the new traffic that is coming in within locally and also internationally. So that's what has been DKIX in the last 30 years. And here in Lisbon, we've seen the growth of the internet exchanges because of the subsea cables, not just because of the subsea cables going in, but it also helps to drive the ecosystem. I was just talking to the people outside because I told them, okay, when the subsea cables comes into the land, what does it do there? Okay, you need to bring it inland in order to be consumed and in order to build an ecosystem. The ANACOM explained a while ago, it cannot just be a landing station. Correct. It needs to be used. And what does it mean to be used? You need to bring all the players of the ecosystem, the IP providers, the transit providers, the content providers, in order then to use the subsea cables that connect the different continents, and then also bring this ecosystem not just among the wholesales, but also to the enterprise users, who is actually now needing the new way of traffic of connecting to the AI applications and so forth and so on. So we are driving the increase of the ecosystems of the digital players in driving the growth of the internet. So that's what DKIX is.
Okay, thank you. Manuel, I mean, talking about the current data center and the peering landscape, from your point of view, what are the key drivers actually in general and the opportunities and challenges you see? And how can you support it?
Yes, okay. First of all, as I said, Sandra made most of or all of the main points that are related with the Portuguese and European strategy regarding the overall ecosystem of digital. Let me just stress a couple of points. The main word must be transparency, previsible, stability, regulatory stability. It's too early. It's regulatory stability and simplicity. So yes, we have to move forward in Portugal and assuming this position as a hub, as the Atlantic Gateway, we have to move forward into some kind of cooperation between the public institutions that we have in one-stop shop for everything regarding the digital ecosystem. And why am I saying digital ecosystem? Because, as I said, nowadays, I truly believe that if we want to be competitive, and more than that, if we actually want to overcome what we usually call the digital divide, so the problem of equality, the question is not having access to this, and it is not having access to the PC. It's not having access to subsea cables. The question is having access to the capacities and the possibilities that the nerve system, that is the subsea cables, bring. So we must have the data centers, the computation capacity to have artificial intelligence working, so edge computing, and we must be able to train the models and to use the data in such a way that it applies to our reality. I've been going over visits Mozambique, Angola, and São Tomé last month. Next week, I'll be going to Cabo Verde. I've been in Timor last year, so I visit all of the Portuguese-speaking countries in Africa.
Was that for holiday or what?
Well, I stood there for 2 days in each one of the countries.
That's enough. That's enough.
It was enough to have wonderful food, great food, wonderful beer.
Trust that.
The wine is too expensive, but we can talk about that later on. But anyway, yes, it was to see how things were working and actually to try to understand how we can relate the Portuguese hub with the capacity that might be created within Africa and looking at the possibilities of going across Africa. And if we want to be competitive, if we want to have an equality approach to data and technology, it's not only connection, it's value, it's data processing.
Okay. Raj?
So at MEL we are looking exactly to where ANACOM is looking as well. We continue to look at the country as having a geographical potential that is clear over centuries, let's say, but also it's clear that there is a point of view on the public entities that wants to drive the digital economy forward and the digital infrastructure as well. So this is something that is more has been worked on by now the current government, and so we are happy with that. So what we've been doing is try to get to have this connectivity on one side. So the investment we've made and are now doing again on subsea cables, bringing connectivity on the hands of Portuguese companies to the country, but abroad as well, being able to deploy more new infrastructure to our own cable landing stations and teleports, bringing satellite gateways to the teleports as well. We are now adding to that the carrier house side. So we've discussed that what we are doing here in Lisbon. Now we have just upgraded the whole facility for us to be able to continue to grow, but also looking into something that is now more and more of a demand in the country is the necessity for diversity. So instead of having everything centralized in the Lisbon metro area, instead of having Lisbon plus Sines, now we are going to add Porto metro area as well. And what we are going to do in Porto is a mix of something that didn't exist in the country, which is a cable landing station and a carrier house at the same time. And it is an open and neutral facility. What we are targeting with this is to add additional routes into the country and out of. Okay, so we're not just talking about subsea. Yes, that is the main target with the cable landing station. But what we are targeting as well is more routes out of the country into Spain, because we are landlocked by Spain, but exiting from Porto. All of this with the ability to create and to localize more data, more content. So this is our main project, and I think on this we need to work really close with ANACOM, namely for all the permitting stage that comes that will come over the next month. So creating new landing points.
We heard Sandra by saying, "Hey, the greener you are, the faster the permits go." Right? Right? That was one of the points. So
we are always looking to
paint everything green, man.
Does it work? It's not really our color. It's not really the color of my football club. So I will struggle with the color, but I will make it green. Don't worry.
Okay. Green. So we go to the green side now. You know, that's how I bridge, right? So, Mohammed, I mean, where do you see the key challenges and the opportunities which we are, and what do we need to do?
Actually, the key challenges are the opportunities. So whatever they're challenged, that's where there's opportunity. So, you know, when you travel to these big cities, there is always this construction, and you say that every time I come here, there is always this construction, whatever the city, especially the bigger the city is, the more construction. And then you will say, when this city will stop growing or stop, putting more. That's how a company should be.
To stop the noise.
It will never stop. So that's the thing. So if when you stop, it's when you die in this business. Unfortunately, if you stop, like if your network is down a few hours, you lose a few clients. You're down for a few days, you close shop. So the idea is always how to create resilience. Be as much as resilience. A lot of people will think that, but it costs money. Yes, it costs money, but if you lose all your clients, that costs much more. The other thing is that we're always continuously improving. So we improve how we connect, how we route, how we always background check every configuration that we've done, and how to use less electricity. Why
Oh, that's a challenge.
Yes. Actually, we brought with us a rack, a full rack, which is operational, to show how actually we connect our equipment. All our equipment are half DC, half AC for a purpose. The half DC is to avoid back conversion of power. So the solar part is always one part, and the other normal electricity is on the other side. Why that is because we operate in Africa, and everyone knows how sunny Africa is. So when they closed the strait, we were not affected by the power. So that's how resilient we are.
All right, cool. Teresa, the local internet exchange, and so how can peering, of the IX lead to the improvement of the customer experience and actually ensure network resilience?
As what Mohammed explained a while ago, right? So it should actually be part of the architecture, because most of the people here will be selling IP transit. So they know only how to buy IP transit. And for the last 30 years, they're saying, we don't need an exchange because we can buy IP transit. But all of them connects to the internet exchange because of resiliency, because it not just of resiliency, but also in terms of improving the latency. So that's actually the second value of an internet exchange. Of course, we also make sure that the traffic remains local, so that it means to say the resiliency, if there's something wrong with your IP transit, the people connected into the internet exchange would still be able to exchange traffic to one another. They don't need to actually traverse the whole world because they are actually connected into the internet exchange. So this is actually the most important value of an IX. That's why we develop and we encourage all of the local players of the internet to connect to the platform. It will never change the IP transit. It will actually complement the IP transit so that it improves your network and also helps you to gain more customers. I remember when we came here in Lisbon just after the COVID, it wasn't Sinus. I think he was here. I think he used to be from Anacomas. Yeah, he was there, Mr. Jose Barroso. He was actually the one who encouraged and helped us to develop that internet exchange and come up with all the different ways on how we could collaborate. We collaborate with Mayo, we collaborate with Mohammed, so that they can use the platform in order to actually complement for resiliency, for redundancy, and also to keep the local traffic. Because there is no such thing that tomorrow Asia or Africa will all be content ready. So we still have the value of the internet exchange is also to augment where the content is not really there to the end user to be consumed and to be provided. So that's what an internet exchange value is.
Okay, cool. Manuel, and we just heard about, especially about new investments, and Mohammed is, putting everything, with the three family members, putting all the money, he has out of his pocket, to invest. So, what are the new investment opportunities to meet actually the market demands here in the region?
Yes, the investment opportunities. As you know, there is a new strategy, a digital strategy in Portugal. So the government and public institutions are focusing on creating all the capacity and creating an environment where you might invest in data centers, cable landing. It is wonderful to hear that we are already looking at Porto, not only at Lisbon and the Lisbon region. We have the two islands, Madeira and Açores, that are in a very strategic position. That's why Google, for instance, is coming to Açores. So there are a lot of opportunities. Let me just, if you allow me, let me just introduce another topic. And I initially talked about transparency, simplification, and previsibility. I said it. Yes, I've been trying. I've been practicing during the last two or 3 minutes. So, and I'm really sure that everybody here is very happy to hear the regulating saying these three words. But it's also really important to talk about cooperation and cooperation between institutions. And I would like to talk very briefly about cooperation for a simple reason. And I'm going back to the investment. It's because we need cooperation between the public institutions that are involved in the digital ecosystem. So it's not only a question of the telecommunications licensing, it's the green, it's the energy, it's the protection, the defense. So different areas. I believe there are 18 public institutions that must be involved in licensing cable landing. So we have to cooperate between each other, but we also must have cooperation between countries, because this is exactly like an airplane. So the market for air transports, the data goes from one side, but it has to reach the other side, and it has to make sense. So the two must be connected, which means that we should also discuss in international terms how we can cooperate to make regulation easier. And that is why I said that we are much involved in connecting with other Portuguese-speaking countries and Africa, and nowadays Bermuda. We have ongoing talks with them because of the cable landing for Google, and it is important to have and to reach out to other countries. Finally, it is obviously important to have collaboration and cooperation between public, private, and academic institutions. And Barros is the president of our Observatorio for strategic infrastructures. And we are now involved, where I'm a part. Carlos from the DC is also there. We have everyone involved, from academia to firms to regulators. And that is a platform where we can get together and discuss. So collaboration is really, really important. If we want to make sure that there is investment, and I'm really convinced that in the future, and I say future, it's next years, the investment in telecommunications will be directly connected with the capacity for data computation and data processing. So there will be a direct relation between all the data ecosystem and investment in telecommunications. If we want to make sure that there will be investment in Portugal, it's not only about the Portuguese market for telecommunications, it's about capacity to be a hub to connect to other areas.
But how fast can we be in our target time to market?
Unfortunately, nowadays, it's still not as fast as I liked. And every year that I come here, I have people coming to me and trying to explain all difficulties that they are facing in Portugal and other European countries. There is this very difficult relation between making things simpler and faster, and at the same time being able to maintain a degree of regulation that gives assurance and is safe and transmits safety for everyone. And so we have to combine these two. We have to make things very, very fast, but at the same time, we have to make sure that the citizens understand that they are safe and everything is being put into place to make sure that there is security, there is resilience, there is capacity to intervene, to regulate, and there is competition. And to do this, we have our role to help firms and to help operators to come into the market as fast as possible and to make sure that they are complying with all the rules. But everyone here is also, I believe they also have a role to transmit to the society that some level of security must be complied. When we get to telecommunications, this is really, really serious, because during the last 2 months, we had a problem with energy not last 2 months. So in April, we had a problem with energy in the Peninsula Iberica. 2 months ago, we had a problem with a natural disaster. But at the end of the day, if you ask anyone in the road what is happening, they will tell you it's the fault of telecommunications. Why? Because the first thing that they face is the fact that they don't have the mobile phone, they don't see TV. So it seems that telecommunications are the ones that are at the center of the problem, and that gives us responsibility to make sure that we transmit to the society that we are doing things in a very secure way. So we have to balance this too.
George?
I think that on the point of view of Mel, okay, we would like to speed up this idea. I think the idea of having a one-stop shop for licensing is a tremendous idea. We've been discussing this with Barros for a long time. The possibility of moving this as fast as possible, and we are not just talking about subsea. We are talking about every type of licensing that telecommunication need to interconnect, to connect, let's say, and even for the project of Porto, we would be happy to try to be like the first company to be able to use it, because we are not just talking about the licensing of a place where you can land a cable. So you need to protect that area because there will be cables landing there. You can go into a pre-licensing of any new cable coming, and that will speed up things for sure. So all of this, and having all the interconnection between CLS and data center in developing the project as one, is something that that I think we are happy to be the first ones to try to simplify it, let's say, and to work together with you.
I really must say this. I'm sorry, just to make it clear. We have been pushing for one-stop shop for licensing, and especially me, before I came to Anacom, I was working specifically on simple regulatory approaches to any markets. I know that Barros has been saying this for a long time. When we talk about this, I'm not saying that it has to be centered at Anacom, because there are a lot of institutions that are involved. And at this point, the only thing that I say, the only thing that I believe that we have to make clear is that it is absolutely necessary. It is a necessity to have a simpler process for people that want to invest in Portugal in the data ecosystem. If at the end of the day we are just a part of the corporation, that's wonderful. If we are coordinating it, also wonderful. But I'm not saying that it should be Anacom, because there are a lot of people involved.
No, sure, and everybody plays his role, of course. But Mohammed, you're here, but you're also in other places, as we know, and we saw this in Kinshasa, in Cape Town, in London. So, what can you say? What could be improved? And I'm now asking not to you as a CEO by coincidence, but as an engineer. So, what could be improved? Let's say to get us faster on track, because the demand is there, guys. And if we don't, I mean, we talk about this for years here, right? And I see improvement from everybody every year again. But still, we have something coming, which is so huge, which, guys, we need not only, we need power 10 times more. We need, you talked about, in my good old days when I was selling it, the 100 megs, right? It's the teras are there, right? So from your point of view, because you overlook different markets, what is your view? What can be done, let's say, here in this region?
One of the problem that
what would help?
Yeah, so internationalization, that will help. Today, for example, if you take capacity from Lisbon to Madrid, it's cheaper than Lisbon to Lisbon. Why? Because there is not enough demands locally, because the country is smaller in terms of numbers, so when that's the reflection of a country that is trying to sell internally. But if they concentrate that everything that is being sold is as well for export, then automatically it becomes as cheap. I don't know if I get my point. So for example, let's say that you have 100 gigabit from Lisbon to, I would say, from point A to Lisbon, point B. The price is almost the double than Lisbon to Madrid. Okay. Although it's the same product, it's longer distance, it should be more expensive. But since there is not enough demand, automatically there is not, the price goes up because there's not enough demand. What they should treat it is that every connectivity sold locally should be treated as an international link. So automatically it would be the same price, because every of this local link can be extended internationally. So it should be considered the same way. So internationalization is something that is important. Portugal is an empire, used to be an empire, but still, if you see how it is or how the language is, it's still an empire. And it needs maybe to remember that it is an empire. So it needs to operate that way, not as a small republic.
That's why Manuel is traveling around, right? Right?
Yeah.
So that helps. So that's already a good thing, a good initiative.
Yeah.
Okay?
So as we said earlier, we need to prepare the country. So, for example, to have more capacity locally, not because we need it locally, no, because we need it internationally. Okay, so that would drive.
Would that be possible to treat the national things and price it internationally?
It's not a question of being possible. It's a question we have to look at, as I said, we have to look at like that, because again, the value that is being created in any country, regardless of the dimension of the country, the value that's being creating in the data ecosystem, it's not in a single place. It's all over the world at the same time. Yes, we have to comply with rules from a specific country or a specific economic area. Okay, that is true. We should be cooperating and coordinating more in what comes to regulation, as it happened in the other markets. But again, the perspective of being international has been there from the beginning of telecommunications. The first cable is from 1874, 74. Well, it's the 19th century at the end. So, and the perspective has always been that. And if we look, for instance, something that Sandra said, let's look at the question of resilience and capacity to intervene and to repair cables. Again, we need cooperation and we need a one-stop shop. Maybe it should be at the region area level, not at the Portuguese level. Maybe we need something that is not only European and North Africa to be able to intervene very quickly. This is to say that this perspective of internationalization, it makes all sense. It's a necessity.
And I think that one of the things that we are seeing now, specifically in Portugal, is that more and more the connectivity between digital infrastructure is being treated, at least it started to being treated as international capacity. Well, let's say at least on the market pricing, I would say something like this. Of course, I understand what Mohammed is saying, but in the end, it's also something that we see as a demand. Is the demand there? Your investment, how will you recover the investment to have DWDM equipment everywhere in the country, and you sell on one route, you sell only 100 gigabits one time? How can you recover that? And the same thing goes with the investments we need to make to connect the archipelagos. So one thing is the current cable, the current CAM ring that is in operation, connecting two areas that each have 300,000 inhabitants top. And now we are building a system that will cost 160 million or something around that. How will you price that? Is the demand going to be enough for you to have pricing that is leaves everyone happy? Of course, we are looking into this idea of internationalization, but in the end,
and that's my bad. The technical part of me always say, we want to do this. It's shiny, we want it. This is what we want. The thing is that in business, you need to be the balance of the economic viability and the technical possibility. It's always about balance. Technical, sometimes, as you said, DWDM, something needs to pay it back. But on the other side is that sometimes you have this egg and chicken situation. If you had a very big network, then maybe international will come more, and maybe more cable will come as well. So it's.
But I think that the idea of the country needs to be facing outwards.
That's the internalization I was talking about.
Yeah.
So then you know what the solution could be. Then put everything in one pot, and from that one pot, you're going to price it internationally. And when you have a new project, don't only look at the return on investment on that one cable, because it interferes and it interoperability within your complete network, that's what your product proposition and your service proposition will be, and then you can price it. But again, it's not always easy. So I want to do a round for, let's say, some famous last words. We were talking about, let's say, enhancing the digital connectivity in this first panel. What is your takeaway? What should we look at? What do you want to say? You want to start?
Yeah, for me, I would just say that we need to continue to collaborate with each other. I think this is the word that we need to do from the institution side, from the data center side, from the IP provider side. We need to continually educate the world outside of Lisbon. I think you're doing this. They need to understand what's happening here in the region, in the south, specifically in Lisbon. They just don't need to see this as the landing of cables, but there are ecosystem going on. There is traffic going on, and I think for the from the institution side, you just have to see it not just from the hyperscaler, from the data center, but down to the lowest of the ISPs. You need to understand what they need as well across the board. You probably don't know internet exchange as much, but you need to understand those players of the ecosystem to actually attract all the internationals to come here. And we need to say this in the United States, we need to say this in the Middle East, and so forth and so on. And we collaborate, we do a lot of this to educate more the market on what is actually the value of Lisbon, so that then we can then collaborate and support the demand of the digital future. So for me, collaboration is the key.
Okay, team, you know what team means? Together, everybody achieves more, right? So think about that. Manuel. Some famous last words. Takeaway.
Beautiful. No, my takeaway is it's something that is obvious. We have been saying this over and over again. It was just said, but I really like the fact that it was in one slide. The sentence, it's not only about the cables, it's also about creating digital capacity. And we have been saying that more and more and more. And yes, we have to take that idea out of this room, because for us and for everyone here, for me, I've been learning about this. So you have been teaching me that this is obviously the best approach to consider the cables as a nerve system, but we have to create more than that. And the cooperation, the collaboration between institutions and private and public and academia are fundamental. Just one final word on dress codes, just to say the following. Yes, I'm wearing a suit, but if you look at the pictures from this conference during the last 2 or 3 years, I'll probably be wearing exactly the same. So for me, yes, probably not the same. No, I try to do it.
Let's not go into
I
details,
try to do it,
Teresa.
but I can tell you one thing. Sure. I go into the same shop since 91. I buy exactly the same thing, so it makes my life extremely easy. Exactly. So just to make that clear.
No, for me, it's a question of habit. You see, I lived maybe 28 years in Africa. Putting a suit was not an option, so I didn't get used to it.
No, it wasn't. Josh, some quotes.
I was going to speak about diversity and resilience, namely because of the events that Portugal has been running through, let's say. Last year we had the Iberian blackout. This year we had major storms that had a huge impact on the center of the country, in a special place that me and Manuel at least like very much. And the impact on populations was huge. So I was going to talk a bit about this and what we are doing in Porto that will help, of course, the resilience of the networks connecting Portugal south to north. But I really like what Teresa was mentioning about collaboration. And I think this has been our point of view over the last at least 6-7 years, is to improve that collaboration between the whole fabric, let's say. And the way we've been promoting the region, and the way we've been, of course, we are competitors, but we are also, the wholesale business has this sparkle where you work with, you have competitors that are your partners, that are your customers, and your suppliers as well. And so this is really important for us to be able to grow let's say, with sustainability. But also, we need to be in closer collaboration with public entities, not only ANACOM, but also what the current government is doing and the effort is putting up to bring the digital infrastructures forward. We need this collaboration to make the country grow, just as Teresa was saying, not just a next important submarine cable hub now into something that allies this with terrestrial connectivity, with satellite, but having content within this digital infrastructure present.
Let me just say one thing, if I may. It's an idea that Teresa also already mentioned, but let me give a regulatory perspective on that. When we talk about public institutions, we have to be aware that we have Brussels, we have Lisbon, we have regulators, and then we have people that are even closer to the ground, which are local public institutions. And the collaboration must be all around the different institutions, and being very much aware of the capacity to decide and to intervene of each one of them. So it's not only the big operators and institutions that are sitting here.
Okay, some famous last words for Mohammed.
So I will end it not with the last word, but with the last question. Is that everyone knows that most of the submarine cables are consortiums. So it's like people come together and make one big cable because it's very expensive. Like, why shouldn't we do it for the fabric of the internet and for the networks locally?
There you go. Take that question.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think on that sense as well, there is room for us to collaborate.
And that's why we're sitting here, coming up with ideas, sharing the knowledge, and make sure that we do something about it. Just think about it. And I'll give you all the time to think about it, because we're going to stop here now. Okay. So we would like to thank you. I would like to thank you first, of course, George, Mohammed, Teresa, and Emmanuel. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you, audience, for sitting in here and being with us this morning, where we heard some interesting things and the point of view of ANACOM, from Sandra. We had some very nice, interesting presentations from Mohammed and from George. So, and we ended up now actually with this panel discussion. So thank you so much for being here. Have a fantastic lunch. Come back later, because we're going to talk more. Yeah, and I already see the suspect sitting next to me. Yeah. So thank you for that, and thank you for sponsoring Interfiber Networks for these sessions. So thank you so much. Enjoy, and see you in there.